Greetings, everyone. Welcome to Darth Loquitur's Influence of the Senator. This guide for the Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes mobile game is meant to follow up the beginner's guide. It's an intermediate path to build the best teams for a high impact in guild events and raids, which will help us get into a top tier guild as soon as we can. The long-term focus, while it's on these guild events, is also to have a good, balanced account that's fun to play and will also do well in other game modes. In PvP, this path is pretty good. We're going to give it an 8 out of 10 because we do build quite a few teams, and a few of those teams are very good in PvP, so we should be able to stand up pretty well in Squad Arena as well as Grand Arena very early on. For events, conquest, and galactic challenges, 7 out of 10. We are focusing on a few keywords, and we're not expanding out to a lot of the income building events right away. So not quite as good as the Techno Union path, for example. In raids and guilds, we're giving it a 10 out of 10. Of course, that's the point, and this is the very best build that we could think of for top participation as soon as possible. The mod requirements are moderate. They're not as strict as a PvP-based account, but you still do need good mods, and you will have to have a mod farming strategy, even for the in-game events. Fleet requirements, we're going to call them challenging, mostly because there's some complexity that we'll have to explain. So what's the theory behind this? If we focus on raids, territory battles, Wat Tambor is a very important mission now, especially with him now being a requirement for the Kenobi Galactic Legend. Ki-Adi-Mundi is also something that people want to pay attention to and build teams for if you want to get the best guilds out there. And the challenge tier Rancor is definitely something good guilds are looking to do well in and succeed. Padme makes a very good team. It's an easy team to play. It's a strong first team for the account. That goes into the build for General Skywalker, which is where we're going to end up. We do want the Geos for the dark side territory battles in that Wat Tambor shard. General Skywalker is going to help us with guild events and raids, either as a Jedi in the Jedi team or as the leader of the 501st clones, depending on how you want to play that out. We're going to build this in a way that gives early account development and income, and the point is to be able to qualify for the best guilds that are out there. The whole time, if you follow this path, you must constantly ask yourself, if I'm in an awesome guild, and if you are not, you're sort of missing the point of this whole build. Just as it's going to make you competent for guild events, then you want to be compensated for that by being invited into a really good guild quite early on in your path. You may have a low contribution compared to other members in the guild, but if people see your potential and they know what you're building and they know that you're building for those events specifically, you can get an invite to a guild that's much higher than your GP should allow. So here's Jedi Knight Anakin. He's making a threat that the Jedi are going to eliminate the Separatist threat. And Wat responds by saying, hey, he's trying to stop us from getting 29 stars. What shall we do, Dooku? Dooku's answer? Sand. Lots and lots of sand. All right, so we're going to overcome that sand and get a lot of high stars. Senator outline, 3 phases of build. And we do expect this to take a year to 15 months for a free-to-play player who's starting the game at the very beginning. That depends on efficiency. I haven't played this out myself from beginning to end, so I can't say for sure what the timeline is, but that feels about right based on how many relics we're going to build and all the stuff that we're going to do in the account. The first phase is the Padme phase, and that also includes Geos, getting them set up for the Wat Tambor mission, but remember that's from the starting guide. You already should have Geos and be working on that anyway, so that's in the Padme phase. And then we have the General Skywalker journey phase. That's where we're building some of the prerequisite characters. We got to build Ewoks for C-3PO as part of the requirements, and we'll be collecting ships and collecting characters and just generally working on the account for quite some time. And then at the end, you're going to finish out the clone troopers and get them to relic levels so that you have a full relic clone team with gas. All right, so starting advice. One of the things that we need to know about and think about as we play this account, it is going to require a little bit of pivoting on team building for both characters and fleets. Remember that fleet is important. We're going to establish some early game crystal income through fleets, and it's important to keep that going for the longest time possible. The goal is to place the top 10 in fleet, and I've been clarifying for people, it may take you, if you're a free-to-play player, it may take you 3 or 4 months before you can firmly establish your place in the top 10, because some people are going to buy hyperdrive and you have to catch up and pass those people, and that will take some time. Guild is critical for income. Again, this is all about being in a great guild. So we want to target like a 250 million galactic power guild or more as soon as we can. In order to get recruited to a good guild, when you make applications, these are the kinds of things that you need to talk about so that a guild leader will think that you're a competent and a good guild member. You will just promise that you'll get 600 tickets a day. You'll promise participation in all the events, whatever's out there. I'm going to sign up for it and do something for the guild. Wat Tambor shards with the Geo team, and then building into a clone team that's going to be able to get Kiadi Mundi shards. And you may be a long way off of that, but you can say to the guild leader, look, these are the first teams that I'm building. That's what I'm going to do. So, get me now, or I'll go to a different guild that'll respect that commitment, right? These teams are also good for raids, and it will give you at least 2 good challenge tier rank war teams. All right, complexity. Instead of just starting out and farming team by team like we've been able to do with some of the other guides, this one has a little more explanation, and we're going to go into that. And there's kind of what I'm going to call a collection phase. So we're going to explain that, and then we're going to get into more detail about how to build the teams. So the first team that we're going to focus on, of course, is these Geos with the Vulture droid. This is already in the beginner's guide, but I put it back in here just to kind of show that the Geos themselves don't really put much pressure on the light side and dark side energy because they're farmed out of the cantinas. The Brood Alpha, the Spy and Soldier, all Cantina Farms. Sunfac comes from the Fleet store, Poggle from Galactic War store. So the Vulture droid is really the only pressure that this build puts on onto your regular energy. Now, because we're building a lot of Galactic Republic, I know people will have the question very early on, why would we still build the Geo fleet? And the answer is you still need the dark side ships. You still need to build that dark side fleet first to get the Zeta Material Challenge unlocked. So there's no way around it. You can't just build a Galactic Republic team. You have to build a team to get the Executrix up and get the get the Zeta Material Challenges unlocked as soon as you can. So we're going to stick with this dark side team through the Geos and build their ships and build that Vulture droid, and that's going to be our early fleet. We've already known and proven that this fleet can do very well in Fleet Arena, so we're going to stick to the plan. For the Padme team, we are going to build Padme, Ahsoka, Jedi Knight Anakin. Kenobi will come out of the raids, and then we're going to build Fives as the 5th member of that team. He's a clone. We're going to need him eventually anyway, so we're going to start with him very early. Anakin comes off of the Cantina node. He also has some hard farm nodes, but typically farming him out of the Cantina is a little smoother on the journey. Again, it'll take the pressure off of your light and dark side energy. Padme comes from the Journey Guide. You'll be able to get her with the Geos. I do have a video on how to get Padme with relatively low-level Geos, so if you need to watch that, have a look. But it's certainly possible with the Geos. Ahsoka and Fives come out of the Cantina store, and Kenobi is a raid reward. It takes a while to build him up to 7 stars, but it's not too bad. Again, if you get in a good guild, that'll ramp up pretty quickly. And again, you can see there's very little pressure on our regular light side and dark side energy with this team as well. Now we're on to the clones. Shaak Ti is the leader for the clone team. Comes out of Fleet 5A Hard. And I've got the caption here, uh-oh. For anybody who hasn't played the game before, if you're a new player, you're just starting out, there are a couple fleet nodes that, depending on how you play and which ships you've focused on, are going to be very hard for you to get by. A couple in the 4 hard of the fleet are pretty tough. And then Fleet 5E normal has a reputation for just being a really hard node to get past early game. So you got to get past the normal nodes to get to the hard nodes, and that means Shaak Ti. You just don't get to her very quickly unless you get really lucky RNG, or unless you somehow beat that event with something I'm not aware of. But it usually takes a while to build your fleet up enough to get Shaak Ti. I would love to have started with the clone team as the first team, even faster than the Padme team, but this Shaak Ti is gated, and you're really not able to get her right away. So keep that in mind. Rex comes out of the Guild and Fleet store, same with Echo, and then Arc Trooper comes out of the Cantina again as a Cantina Farm. So look at this, 3 requirements in, and there's still almost no pressure on a regular energy. Ewoks are a requirement. You have to get them in order to do the C-3PO event, and C-3PO is a character that you must have for the General Skywalker journey. We're going to focus on Chief Chirpa, Elder, Wicket, Logray, and Paplu. Chief Chirpa comes out of the Cantina 5D. Elder comes off a light side 2C. You can get to that right away as soon as you start the game. Wicket comes out of Dark Side 8A, so you have to be level 76. That takes a little while to unlock that node. Logray comes out of the Guild store, and Paplu comes out of the Cantina Farm. So a couple of these finally have some regular energy farms for us to do. Now we're going to talk about fleets. Don't worry about the farming stuff. I'll go into more detail in that in a second. I'm going to explain all of the complexity here, and then we're going to kind of backtrack into the details of the farming guide. All right, so with fleet, we're going to do that Geo fleet first. We have to do the 5 dark side ships to unlock the Zeta material. We also need 6 light side ships because we're going to have to go all the way to 6 stars on the Endurance as soon as we reasonably can. You need a 7-star Galactic Republic capital ship in order to do the General Skywalker event. Even if you get into a fantastic guild, it could still, if they get 25 to 30 shards of negotiator per month, so you'll get your guild event token 2 currency, you'll purchase negotiator shards with that currency, and perhaps you'll get 25 to 30 shards per month in a good guild. I don't want to commit to anything beyond that because I want to make a representation of what the average player could expect. So that would make 11 months of play after you get into a really good guild. Maybe you have to play the game for 3 or 4 months to get into an awesome guild. And then once you get into that good of a guild, maybe you still have 10 months left to go to get your negotiator. So that makes it, maybe over a year before you're going to get the negotiator 7 stars. Therefore, I think it's smart to go ahead and plan to get this endurance to 7 stars. And that way, if the negotiator doesn't work out in time, you still have access to the endurance. Now, as I make this video, there are some instances of the negotiator capital ship showing up in the shop for 1,200 crystals for 100 shards. And if that's still the case, then you will be able to buy yourself into a negotiator more quickly if you want to. So that becomes more of an option if they're going to continue to do that in the shop. I don't know, but we'll see. Anyway, just for an insurance policy, what I would say, let's plan to build a bunch of light side ships and get the endurance all the way to 6 stars and unlock the event so that every time the endurance event rolls around, you can get 15 shards out of that every month and get that to 7 stars. And that's your plan to get that 7-star capital ship. Okay. Now that means that you're going to have to build the Geos and also try to pretty quickly get a bunch of light side ships as well. Not incredibly easy. So if we look at all the Galactic Republic ships, here we see that there's 8 ships of consequence that we can talk about. There also is the Jedi Consular's ship, but I don't think that's one that we want to talk about here at first. Eventually, we will need a total of 4 Galactic Republic ships. One of them has to be Anakin's ship, and then 3 other Galactic Republic ships. But we're just going to go ahead and plan to build 6 light side Galactic Republic ships. This is not that hard, and it does give us a great fleet behind that negotiator. So we're going to go ahead and think about building all of this. Ahsoka, the Clone Sergeant, and Plo, their ships can all be bought out of the fleet and or Galactic War Store. So those we're going to try to purchase with currency more so than farming. Anakin is a fleet farm, and that opens up at 60 when fleet opens up. The Umbaran Starfighter for 5s is at level 72. And the BTL-B Ywing is off of a light side node 7C, and can be unlocked at level 63. Rex has a good ship, but his is a little more uncommon, showing up in the fleet stores. So you can try to build Rex, but he may not come along to 6 stars as quickly as you want. So plan for these other 6 ships with Rex as a 7th ship that may be optional, something that you can build. So what do we do? Now, we've talked about a load of different stuff, right? Geos, Padme, Ewoks, clones, ships, and we have to sort out what it is that we're going to do. So first things first, we do want to continue to focus on the Geos and become Wat ready as soon as we can. Now, in terms of relics, I think it is worth having at least 1 relic Geo on your team for that Wat mission. And we'll talk about that more a little bit here in a bit. We can already start farming the ships and the Ewoks while we're working on the Geos and Padme. Because there's so little pressure on our light and dark side currency with a lot of these different characters, we can already go ahead into the Ewoks and fleet requirements quite early. We're going to focus on the Padme team to the extent that eventually we're going to relic all 5 characters on the Padme team, pretty much ahead of the rest of the account building. And the reason we want to do that is, again, we're building the Geos for Wat Tambor, and then as quickly as possible, we want to get 1 team that's suitable for the Rancor raid, that's good for Squad Arena to help get us more currency there, and just a lot of different game modes. So we're going to go all the way with the Padme squad and try to get that fully functional before we move on. By that time we have Padme done, we'll have clones at 7 stars. We'll have, their gear started. We should have C-3PO unlocked and started to build him by that time. So then we can move on to the next phases of the build. And of course, we'll be already farming the next phase while we're working on Padme, but we'll get to that here in a minute. All right, so what does that mean? When we start out, the hard mode farms, we still need Bastila. We still do want to unlock Yoda all the way to 7 stars. And Bastila is one of our beginner's guide farms that we do need to carry over and continue to farm. Some things like Dooku and Moff Gideon, with this particular build, really take a back seat. If we can get them to 7 stars, that's fine. If we can't, that's fine too. They're going to really be unfocused, because we really have to get Geos going, get Padme going, get that build underway. We are still going to do hard farming on the Vulture droid. We're going to force farm that until 5 stars, just to make sure that we have it in time for that level 78 Zeta Material Challenge. But because of the way we're going to build our fleets, you don't really have to do much with the Vulture droid beyond that. You can continue if you want to, but you don't have to. The BTL-B Ywing is going to be my recommendation for a tank for the Galactic Republic fleet in your starting lineup. And I would start farming that right away. And once the Vulture droid finishes up, you see I have it in green to force farm. So once the Vulture droid finishes, you'll use that energy to farm the BTL-B Ywing a second time. We're going to farm Ewok Elder. And then again, when the Vulture droid is finished, you're going to pick up Wicket. The only reason I have Ewok Elder ahead of Wicket, again, remember the Ewok Elder node is available a lot sooner than the Wicket node. So you may have to wait until the level where you unlock the Wicket node to be able to engage that farm. So maybe it comes along a little bit later. But this is certainly, kind of the initial farm that we're going to do. Bastila, BTL Ywing twice, Ewok Elder, and Wicket. Now, with the Galactic Republic build, a lot of times you want the Hound's Tooth as a tank. It works great with the Negotiator fleet. However, with this build, we are going to really work on getting that BTL-B Ywing, the Galactic Republic specific ship. If you want to build the Hound's Tooth, you can. If you get good placement in fleet and have the extra energy and you want to go for Bosk and Hound's Tooth right away, feel free to do that. It is not a required part of this build. It's an optional part of this build if you find that you do have the energy to spare in farming that early game. It is a very good ship to get. Not required, but definitely a good option to consider. For fleet hard node farms, Anakin's ETA is a really long farm. And again, we want to get ships to 6 stars as soon as we can. So we're going to force farm that until it gets to 6 stars for sure, to get that endurance moving along, to get that event unlocked and be able to take advantage of that when it comes around. The 5's Umbaran Starfighter can also come from the Fleet store, but it's kind of rare over there, so you do have to farm it if you want it to go quickly, and you may even need to force farm it if it's the last ship you have that's lagging behind. You'll know. You'll be able to tell when the other ships are going to get to 6 stars, and if you need to keep up, then do that. It's going to be a while to get to Shaak Ti, but when you do, hopefully by then you'll have Anakin's ship over 6 stars by then, and you can drop the force farm and pick up Shaak Ti as a farm out of Fleet. For the Fleet store priorities, again, we want to practice this where we save up a bunch of currency. We are still going to want to go for Grievous. Remember, with General Skywalker, you're going to build the other Separatist droids, so it would make sense to go ahead and build a Grievous and have a Grievous to lead that team. Vader, I still think Vader is a good enough character that anybody can build it in any account and be successful, so we're going to prioritize that as the number 2 thing. You get a lot of his shards out of quests, so if you pay attention to the quests and you actually do those as you're coming up, you'll get a lot of Vader shards, and you won't need too many from the Fleet store. The third thing is definitely finishing the Geos. That's your priorities. You save up currency for Grievous and Vader when they show up while you're buying all kinds of Geo ships, Geo characters, and get those finished out. If you have spare currency beyond that, you do have the chance to get Umbaran Starfighter and Plo. On my Loquitur account, I was planning to farm Plo out of the Cantina, and I ended up buying the ship and the character both out of Fleet, and it worked out very nicely. It really surprised me how easily I got them. It was a second or third priority, but I picked them up every now and then over time, and it went pretty quickly. Echo and Rex are also characters out of the Fleet store, and then the Plo character himself, again, can be farmed from the Cantina. Either him or his ship can be farmed from the Cantina. So if you can't get around to him from the Fleet store, farm him over in the Cantina a little bit. Again, once some of these ships start getting close to 6 stars and you can work on the rest of them, get them to 6 so that you can unlock that endurance and get that going. All right, with the guild store, we do have a couple characters that come out of the guild store. So again, it's just a fact where you want to save your currency. Don't just blow it all on the gear that looks good the day that you open it up. Save some in the bank and make sure that when Echo and Rex show up, you can get them out of there. Again, the more shards you can pick up over there, it takes pressure off of Fleet. So again, if we look at this chart and I say that, okay, you're only buying Echo and Rex after all of this other stuff is either bought or completed, you typically won't have spare Fleet currency because you're going to be buying those other things. So you really want to make sure that you can pick them up out of guild store. And then if you need to finish them up out of Fleet, that's fine. But we'll take them out of the guild store whenever we can as a priority. So the first 8 relics in this account, I just want to kind of, we're farming these characters up. We're working on the Padme team. But I think we're going to, in terms of the first 8 relics, we're going to stabilize the account. I built a Geo Spy to Relic 5, and I must say, I had a Relic Geo Brood Alpha on my main account, and good mods, and the Wat Tambor mission felt a certain way, and it's not always easy, and there were a couple random times where I lost and I got frustrated with it, and with that Relic Spy, it is a lot smoother. And it sounds weird, but it really, the battle goes a lot quicker. His executability just knocks out one character after another and makes that Wat Tambor mission quite predictable. And so far, it's been a lot smoother. In fact, it was so much of a difference between those two teams that I went back on my main account and I did relic my spy to 5 to have that ease of use on my main account as well. And since doing that, it has been easier on my main account as well. So I do think the Geo Spy is a good relic. It makes the Wat mission, in my opinion, a lot smoother. And it does give you a lot of fleet power with that Geo Spy ship to be able to take on early fleets. Darth Vader to Relic 7, because it's good. it doesn't fit any of the builds here, but he's a one-man wrecking crew. We're going to build for Wat Tambor so that we can get that guy out of the guild events. So having a Darth Vader to relic level just makes sense. It's good for GAC. It's good for events. It's good for a lot of things. So we're going to go ahead and commit to that. Jedi Knight Anakin is the first one that you're going to relic. Take him all the way to R7 if you can. If you can't right away, that's fine too. Build him to whatever relic level you can commit to, but eventually we want to get him to 7. 5s also, I believe, should go to relic 7. And again, you can stop off on the way there if you need to, because relic 7 is quite a large material commitment. So you may bring him up to like relic 3 and then circle back around later and bring him up to relic 7. Padme relic 5, Ahsoka relic 5, Kenobi relic 5, Grandmaster relic 5. Now, the reason I put relic 5 on all these guys, that's the criteria to qualify for the Rancor raid, and we do want this to be a group that we can take into the Rancor raid. And you can put Yoda in with the Padme team once you get him to relic 5. You can put 5s in with the Padme team until then. You don't want to substitute any other characters into your Padme team. Remember, there's a whole lot of bonuses that are associated with starting with all Galactic Republic characters. Kenobi will take a while to get to 7 stars, so he may not be your 7th relic, depending on how things work out. You may have to relic other characters around him, then come back to him later. But we're assuming that you're going to be in an awesome guild, so we're going to go ahead and put him on the list of the first 8. So even if he's not among your first 8 because you don't have the stars for him, then just wait for it, and as soon as you get the stars, he will be one of the characters that you want to prioritize. He's a good character. It's good to have him at relic level. It makes him tankier, and also it's good for the capital ship. You can take him all the way to relic 7 if you want to. It's worth it, but you don't have to. You just have to qualify him for the Rancor raid first. So that puts us at the midpoint. So we're kind of working on this, what I call the second phase, the General Skywalker requirements phase. So we're working toward this full relic Padme team. That's going to get us better and better squad placement. We got the Geos for Wat and for Fleet. And we've got 2 strong teams for Grand Arena, 2 strong Fleet teams. And this is going to really help a lot in Grand Arena, because we're going to have the Geo team that we're using, at the time as our Fleet Arena. And then behind that, we're going to be quickly building up this endurance in the Galactic Republic fleet. And when that fleet gets more powerful than the Geo fleet, then we'll flip over and we'll start using the Galactic Republic as our main fleet. But still, it gives you 2 super strong fleets in Grand Arena. And if you put a good fleet on defense, you can often win games just because you'll have something the opponent cannot beat. And we do want to go, of course, for the Negotiator as our first capital ship. Replace that endurance and build that out. Vader and Yoda, we've got relic for events, 1 Jedi, 1 Sith/Empire, and that should be enough to get you at least some benefit out of the events that roll around that are Sith or Jedi related. Okay, so the Padme team itself, as we go through this, we're going to have a few pivots. We're going to start out with Padme, Anakin, Ahsoka, Kenobi, and 5s, and at some point we're going to get our clones up and running. And then 5s can go out, and I've got a video on a clone bomb team that basically tells you how to build relatively low-level, low-gear clones with a relic level 5s. Just make the sacrifice, and then the rest of the clones go crazy and can finish stuff out. So it's a valid team. You don't even have to have the other clones all built up. You can do this while they're still working on their stars and gear. When that happens and you push 5s out of the team, then Yoda comes back into this team. And then eventually you're going to get C-3PO unlocked and get him going. When he's at 7 stars, maybe around gear 11 or 12, then he's ready for the Padme team. And then he can take Yoda's place. And that becomes your finished Jedi team that you're going to use a lot of places in a lot of events in the game. With Padme, Anakin, Ahsoka, Kenobi, and C-3PO. The clones are going to pivot. Also, you just swap out some characters. The first team, we're going to start with the Rex lead, the Old Echo, ARC Trooper, Clone Sergeant, and Wrecker. And the reason why we can put Wrecker in here, and it's so easy to select the other clone, is because the BTL-B Ywing that we're farming is on the same node as Wrecker. So there's no reason why we won't have Wrecker shards and be able to, build up the character at least a little bit. And he's a clone, and he's not maybe the best fit for the team, but we're going to have him pretty much for free from the node we're farming for Fleet anyway, so we'll put him in the team. When Fives comes in, we're going to kick out the Sergeant or Wreck or whoever's the weaker character. And then when Shaak Ti takes over the leadership, that's when we'll kick out Wrecker or Sergeant or whoever's the weakest there. And then we'll end up with the Shaak Ti lead and the 4 or 501st clones. All right, the C-3PO Journey event. When you get your Ewoks up and running, Chief Chirpa, we're going to say Gear 11. I've heard of people completing it with Gear 10 or less. We do need the Zeta on him for his leadership, but you do want him to stay alive and not be the one who's dying. You need to keep him around. So we're going to say Gear 11. Elder the same way. Elder is most of your damage. It's most of what happens on this team. A lot of the other guys are just support to let Elder take a lot of turns, and he can bring back anybody who dies. So it's pretty slick. Maybe he could be Gear 10, but I'm going to go ahead and say Gear 11, maybe even Gear 12, depending on whether or not you can complete the mission at Gear 11. Paplu, Logray, and Wicket need to be Gear 8 or so. And this is an event that takes some time and patience. Elder has to live and has to take a lot of turns. And it's an RNG thing, so if you get in there and you don't do well, work on your mods a little bit, come back later, try it again. And, use this as your starting point. And if you can't complete the event to full 7 stars, then, circle back around and add gear a little bit at a time. Maybe take the Elder up first if you're lacking damage, or take Wicket up a little bit more to Gear 9, something like that. But you can work your way through this event. There's a lot of guides out there, so feel free to watch yourself a good guide on the C-3PO Journey event. But this gives you a little bit of an idea what to expect, and not to overgear your Ewoks and give them a whole bunch of Zetas. We pretty much just need 1 Zeta and 2 characters that are decently geared, and we should be able to work our way through the event. Guild check. So once we're working on this Relic Padme team, doesn't even mean that we have to have all 5 of these characters to Relic level and all that. We have what is obviously becoming a Relic Padme team. By now we've got our Geos fully established. Look at your guild again. It might be time to move on. You've got to make sure that you're in the very best guild for you as you progress through the game. And that's a good point. Again, it's a good selling point where you could say, look, I've got the Geos. I'm working on the Padme team. Clones are coming along next. And it's increasingly clear to guild leaders what you're about. So maybe you can upgrade your guild again at this point. The next phase, we're going to look at the Separatist droids along with Asajj Ventress. And I've thrown Mother Talzin and the Night Sister Zombie over there. Once we start building Asajj, if you farm Mother Talzin, you can qualify for another couple Zeta materials a month, so she's something to take a look at. You got to keep in the back of your mind that she's, a method to free loot. And if we're going to build her, we can throw in the Night Sister Zombie. Now, you don't have to finish these characters out to 7 stars, but you can just, get a Mother Talzin going, get a Night Sister Zombie going. And if 3v3 remains a thing for Grand Arenas, then you've got a little 3v3 team here around Night Sisters, and it's something that is pretty cool and can hold its own for pretty low gear levels and do not bad. So something to think about. We'll throw it in there as an option for people who want to take a look. All right, Asajj comes out of the Squad Arena store, so that's very easy to get. B1, Fleet 5B, so that's another fleet node that we have to work on. B2 comes out of the Cantina. Magna Guard comes out of the Cantina. And Droideka is a light side farm. Talzinoff's light side 8A. And I didn't put the levels in here because by now you should clearly be 85. And that should all be behind you, whether or not it's unlocked in 3 stars. And the zombie is dark side 8D. And again, just start those characters. And Talzin can be taken to 7 stars for the event. We're also going to start working on the requirements for Jedi Knight Revan. Now, remember, if you want to do well in light side TB, you need a light side team and a Jedi team at the minimum. So to talk about an early game Jedi team, I think Jedi Knight Revan is the early game Jedi team, and we're going to have to get that character and put him into the account so that we can have a functioning Jedi team, again, to try to capitalize on more event points in the light side GOTBs. That's going to take Zaalbar. Bastila should already be done. We needed her earlier for Grandmaster Yoda, so she should all be farmed up. We need Jolie Bindo. He comes off of regular dark side energy and also Fleet. T3 and Mission come out of the Cantina. So the hard node farms, as we start to finish up on the Ewoks, we're going to roll into Droideka. Farm those Night Sisters, Talzin, and Zombie if you want to. We're going to pick up Bindo when Wicket finishes up, and we're going to pick up Zaalbar after the ships. And again, if you want more hard nodes, you can think about working on the Hound's Tooth, or you can use your energy to focus more on gearing up the characters to a higher level. So that's a little bit of a choice with this build path that you don't get. A lot of the other build paths are really focused on light and dark side energy, and this one gives you a little bit more freedom to make some decisions. In Fleet, we're going to be farming B2 and Magna Guard. And remember, we're trying to relic characters also, so I don't think you just go in there and farm for 9 days straight and try to get the B2 going. Or at least the way I do it, I'll farm some character shards around my relic activities. So once I get the required signal data, then I'll go back to farming characters and I'll swap back and forth. But you should have a pretty long timeline to work up these characters before you are going to be ready to use them anyway. Then you move on to T3 and Mission, and in the same way, work on those characters while working on your signal data. And then Fleet Energy, if you want, can, of course, we're going to have to pick the B1 up over there, but you can also use the Fleet Energy for Bindo and Zaalbar farms if you want to accelerate them a little bit and you don't have something better to do with the energy on a particular day. So the next 4 relics, we talked about the first 8. Now we're going to talk about the next 4. We do need C-3PO to relic, and you'll find information out there that says you don't need to relic your C-3PO for him to be effective. But Rancor Raid says he needs to be Relic 5 to join the show, so just plan to take him to Relic 5. The B1, we want to be potentially Relic 4 or Relic 5, and that's because of the way the character plays as well as the event. So B1 is a really hard-hitting character. He's a really satisfying relic. He takes your Grievous team to the next level, both for damage dealing and for stealing banners in Grand Arena, for example. So this is a character we definitely want to consider taking to relic level. Rex, at least to Relic 3. We need to stabilize that, potentially use him for the ship, and the ship might be a big part. Often is one of the starting 3 ships that we're going to use under the Negotiator. So taking Rex to relic level makes sense. Some people say don't over-relic Rex because of the way the Ki Adi Mundi mission works. It may be bad to make him too overpowered. So take Rex to R3. Again, you'll need him to R5 if you want him to be in the Rancor raid, but it doesn't have to be that way right away. And then Grievous to Relic 5 or Relic 7, whatever you're willing to do. Again, once you've built all the Separatist droids anyway, it makes sense to just build the Grievous and finish that out. Now, some guides are going to recommend that Droideka is indeed the best relic for the event. He's kind of your executioner in that particular event. The characters can regenerate some protection and health, and pretty annoying. But if you can kill them in one shot with Droideka, then they're gone for good. So that is a very strong character to relic. But the B1 is it's a better character. So what I would recommend, see if you can get the event done with a relic B1. Maybe you can. Maybe you don't have to relic the Droideka after all. So that's the way I would try it first, because to me B1 is the most useful out of those characters to relic. For Fleet, 7-star Negotiator or Endurance is needed for this General Skywalker event. You need 7-star Anakin ETA, and then 3 other 7-star Galactic Republic ships. With Plo, Sergeant's ship, Ahsoka, you've already got 3, and potentially the BTL-B Ywing might be 7 stars by then. If you're farming Rex, he may even be 7 stars. So you'll have plenty of Galactic Republic ships to finish out this event. Not going to be a problem for us the way we're working on the account. For characters, 17,700 million 17,700 galactic power minimum, 22,000 is recommended. There are different ways to approach the event. I've seen Asajj and Gear 12 droids with a lot of Zetas, 2 Zetas on Asajj and Zetas on 3 of the other droids to do this. And again, Droideka was acting as the executioner, had excellent mods, was killing off characters, and completed the mission. The event is very RNG dependent on who gets targeted and who gas decides to kill. So there's videos out there. There's plenty of videos that you can watch from content creators like Skeltrix or Sir George's, and they'll help you understand the different ways to complete this journey event. So I'm not going to put that into this video. You can look that stuff up for yourself. But suffice to say, if you're not successful with the mission, you just got to play it a lot of times and have patience, or you are going to have to commit to more relics on more of these characters to make the mission more easy. Again, that'll be up to you in your account and your individual playstyle. For the Jedi Knight Revan event prep, Mission and Zaalbar, again, they could be Gear 7, level 60. I completed the mission with them at very low gear and level. So don't make too much commitment to them just for the Revan event. T3, I had to have him a little higher. Mine ended up level 65 in Gear 8. Bindo, eventually you're going to relic that character, so build him up as high as you want. And put a Zeta on that Looks Pretty Bad. Bastila, Gear 11, Gear 12 is pretty good. She can function in the Jedi team as one of the characters herself, so not bad to make a good investment into Bastila. And then you'll get the JKR unlocked at 7 stars. Once we've got all this stuff done and we've managed to get through the gas event, we still have to finish out these clones. If you want the clones in the challenge tier Rancor, they all do have to be Relic 5. Shaak Ti to relics will allow you to take General Skywalker onto the Jedi team. So people have it in their minds that as soon as they get General Skywalker, they're going to make General Skywalker and the clones for the 501st. And that may very well be your arena team, and you can do very well with that in arena. But when you get into the territory battles, most often you're going to use the Shaak Ti-led clones as your light side team, and then you're going to use your General Skywalker in your Jedi team to give it more punch. And that's something that you're going to have to play around with and interchange and figure out what the right thing is for you and for your guild and how many waves that you can clear and how you want to do all that. So a little bit of flexibility there, but we do want to prepare that General Skywalker can be part of the Jedi team and still leave a functional clone team. So we're going to include Shaak Ti with the relics to finish out that clone team. Now, guides are available on the Kiadi Mundi mission before you just go crazy relicking all your characters. You would be well served to look up some of those guides and, again, educate yourself on exactly how that mission works and where you want to get your clones to and how you want to put the mods onto the clones. So where does that put us by the end of the account? Now, we said we wanted to do well in raids and guild events. We've got a Padme team that's going to do well in just about anywhere you put her. In territory wars, she can be a great defense, can be a good offensive team. Do whatever your guild needs you to do with that Padme team. In guilds and raids, she's good. It's a good team to work through the Sith raid. For example, in the Scion phase and even into the Traya phase, that team is very effective. We have full relic Shaak Ti clones, and that is an extremely effective raid team. They can solo the heroic AAT raid. If you're in a good guild, it should be on sim mode anyway, so that's probably not even relevant. But they can put up very good scores in the Sith raid as well. We have a Grievous team, and again, you can gauge your own commitment to the Grievous team. You can relic that General Grievous. You can leave it as a Newt Gunray-led team or a Dooku-led team, whatever you want to do. If you really don't want to build the Grievous, you don't have to. But it makes sense to go ahead and build a Grievous, put him in charge of those droids you built anyway, and have that team. Jedi Knight Revan gets you a Jedi team that's, in progress. We got the Geos with 1 or possibly 2 relics. For example, if you decided to do Spy and Sunfac so that you have both of those for Fleet, or if you decided to do Spy and Geo Brute Alpha just to make sure that he can't accidentally get one-shotted in one of the mission waves, then that could be very valid to have 2 relics, 1 or 2 relics. We've got a relic Vader that's also going to be able to probably clear a bunch of waves in the dark side Geo, just him and a couple support units. And of course, that's going to be effective in Grand Arena for killing things like Geos, etc. We've got Ewoks, Phoenix, an Old Republic team with some characters on it. And so we've got some leftover teams for sure to put in the Grand Arena on defense. And then we've got 2 really strong fleets, which is going to make it nice for us in Grand Arena because we can put our negotiator fleet on defense and take our Geo fleet that's also very good on offense. It's what I'm doing in my Division 10 Grand Arenas right now, and it's extremely effective. And sometimes you get a win just because your opponent can't beat your fleet. What's next? General Skywalker will eat up a lot of your guild event tokens that you've saved up. But if you do want to go for that Darth Revan, you're going to have Jedi Knight Revan at the end of this anyway if you want to finish out that Darth Revan and go for Malak. It is a good option. You may not be able to get him relicked right away, but it is an easy way to get a really powerful Sith team into your account. And that Malak, which is just a phenomenal character. And then you could go for SEE or SLKR, start your Galactic Legend journey. And for this particular type of account build, Kenobi may be an option because we have struck out very early trying to get a great guild and trying to get a lot of Wat Tambor shards. And if we do get a lot of Wat Tambor, maybe within reason, to get him to 7 stars and be able to unlock that requirement for the General Kenobi. So it's something that you could potentially look forward to if you like that kind of thing. Thank you for watching. That concludes this path, the influence of the Senator. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you'll have fun. And if you try to build this path, please do leave comments down below. Give me feedback on how all this worked out, if the order and the timing was acceptable. And I know I would appreciate it, and anybody else who would follow this path in the future will appreciate it. But it calculates out to be a very good path. It's energy efficient. You do get more energy freed up to work on gear than some of the other paths. So I think it works its way into the relic levels quite conveniently. Hit that like button on your way through if you haven't already. Subscribe to my channel and watch more videos like this when they pop up in the future. And never forget, farm your mods, boys. I'll see you in the next holocron.